Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest, the newest, and today's episode, this week's episode of the David Hittle Real Estate Show. Of course, today, because technology is cooperating, we are coming to you live here on YouTube with my channel of many videos and many live videos. And because technology is allowing, we are also coming to you live from Facebook Live, where we have a few videos, but they go on your timeline and then they disappear after a number of days, and depending on how many friends you have, of course. So I want to welcome everyone, whether you're here on YouTube or there on Facebook, to the David Hittle Real Estate Show. It is brought to you by United Real Estate Louisville, because without them, I would not be able to be a realtor. So, without further ado, let's get going. But before we get going, for all of you here on YouTube, I hope you will click the subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Make sure you subscribe to my weekly videos. That way you know when I'm about to come on, and so that you can also see all of the other amazing videos that I have about real estate and about our market. And if you're there on Facebook, there might be a way for you to subscribe or get notified whenever I'm about to do a Facebook Live. So if there is, click on that button so that you can join me here on the David Hittle Real Estate Show. If you're here on YouTube and you'd like to leave a comment, my comment box is open. If after the show you would like to leave a comment or ask any question that you may have, you can do so. And if you're there on Facebook, you can communicate with me live. I cannot respond back because my phone is way up there. But if it is something pertinent to today's show, I will make sure to read your question and try to answer your question as well. But today's show is all about why this housing market is not like 2008. So if you remember, 2008 was the Great Recession. It occurred just over a decade ago, and it is when the financial systems that the world depended on started to collapse. And this Great Recession created a panic, and that panic drove some large companies out of business. So my financial guru, Dave Ramsey, you probably have heard of him. He is huge in the financial sector, and he is huge in personal finance and all of that sort of thing. He talks about being diversified, especially if you're in the stock market. Being diversified means that if some companies go out of business, you're not going to lose everything because of that. If you are in individual stocks and one of those companies goes out of business, that could be a very bad day for you. So being diversified is something that Dave Ramsey talks a lot about, and it's a good reason why he's my financial guru. The financial crisis that accompanied the current pandemic, which is back to today, has caused a hardship in certain industries and has hurt many small businesses. But it has not rattled the world economy. And it seems that a year later, things are slowly getting back to normal for many companies. So the first question we have is, why is there a dramatic difference between 2008 and now? And we're going to talk about that. Realty Track, which is a website that tracks the real estate market, says that we changed the rules. We changed the rules between 2008 and today. We told the banks, and basically the government told the banks, that they needed to have more reserves, more capital, more money, and that they could no longer underwrite, or they could no longer produce toxic mortgages. Those things we heard of, the subprime mortgages, these mortgages that were toxic. Uh, they were written for individuals who the banks knew could not pay back the money, but they wrote them anyway. And that was partially because Bank A was going to sell that bad mortgage or that subprime mortgage to Bank B. Bank B was going to buy a whole bunch of those subprime bad mortgages, and they were going to package them all together and sell them to Bank C. And each step of the way, banks were getting paid, but their risk was being diminished. So that type of situation does not occur today in such an unregulated way. The government stepped in after 2008 to prevent a housing crisis like we saw in 2008 from happening again. It turns out that regulation, properly done, can help navigate financial minefields. So here is a result. They put it in this nice chart for me. Bank failures by years. Now, banks and other lending institutions are the ones who are going to be doing the financing for your home purchase in most cases. Whether that's an FHA loan, whether it's a VA, a USDA, a conventional loan, it is banks and financial lending institutions that are taking the risk up front. So back in 2008, just in that year, 25 banks failed. So 25 banks went out of business. The very next year in 2009, this is amazing. I didn't even know this information. Amazing. 140 banks failed in 2009. That was a year after the 2008 recession, a year after the housing crash, the housing market imploded. 140 banks failed in 2009. By 2010, 157 banks failed. They collapsed. 157 in 2010. So after 2010, everything started getting back to normal, but banks were still failing. 92 in 2011, 51 in 2012, 24 in 2013, 18 in 2014. And we have never been double digits in bank failure since that year, since 2014. 8 banks failed in 2015, 5 banks failed in 2016, 8 more banks failed in 2017, 0 failed in 2018. That was a good year for banks. But 4 failed in 2019 and 4 failed in 2020. So what's the difference? The difference between today and 2008 is that we are not seeing banks, unregulated, giving out all these mortgages that they know are bad. These toxic mortgages, these bad mortgages are not getting sold unregulated like they were during that time. So, what was the difference this time? What is the difference this time? In 2008, the government saw the foreclosure meltdown as a top-down problem, and they set aside $700 billion for banks under the Troubled Asset Relief Program. That was the TARP program you all probably heard of. But not all of the $700 billion was used. But the important point was that the government did not act with equal fervor to help flailing homeowners. So in 2008, the government gave money to the banks. The government gave money to the big people. They gave money to the banks, the people with a lot of money, the big corporations back in 2008 got money. They got bailed out by the government to the tune of $700 billion. That's a lot of money, $700 billion. But the government did not help the homeowners, millions of which lost their homes to foreclosure and short sales. So, the difference between then and now is that this time around, the government forcefully moved to help the ordinary citizens, the ones who were at risk of losing their homes. The government stepped in and helped them, working from the bottom up. An estimated $5.3 trillion went to the public in 2020 through such mechanisms as the Paycheck Protection Program, expanded unemployment benefits, tax incentives, and help for local governments. So, win or lose, like it or not like it, the government in 2008, during the Great Recession, helped the big banks. This time around, because of not a recession, but a global pandemic, the government helped the citizens rather than giving all that help to the big banks. I'm sure the big banks got some pocket change from the government too. I'm sure the government didn't leave the banks out to dry. But the government this time around also helped the ordinary citizen who was at risk of losing their home. So far this year, 2021, we have the $1.9 billion American Rescue Plan with millions of $1,400 checks, as well as proposals to spend trillions more on infrastructure. Bank deposits have increased by nearly $2 trillion. So that's ordinary citizens depositing money into the banks. Their deposits increased by nearly $2 trillion during the past year. And great news, which did make Dave Ramsey happy, makes me happy, is that credit card debt fell. Credit card debt fell. It didn't increase during this global pandemic. It actually fell. People, ordinary citizens, got out of debt rather than getting into more debt. Could you imagine that? Imagine a time where we experience a downturn in the economy. We had a recession. People lost their jobs. People had to go on unemployment. People were in a bad way, but credit card debt went down. People didn't turn to the credit cards in order to keep their family, keep their life afloat. They steered away from credit card debt and put more money in the bank. So the bottom line in all of this, is that many people have suffered over the past year due to the pandemic, due to the recession, losing their jobs. Some have lost their house, unfortunately. However, the economic toll of our current recession was nowhere near the scope of the Great Recession. And it will not result in a housing crisis. There are many differences between 2008 and today. There are many people out there telling you, scaring you, that there is a housing crisis coming, that the home prices are going up, and eventually something's going to pop and those housing prices are going to fall. I am here to tell you, in my personal opinion, that is not going to happen. Today's housing price increase is not due to anything but supply and demand. We have a lot of demand. There are a lot of home buyers out there looking for homes just like yours, but there is very little inventory. People are staying in their homes longer than ever before. That is fueling the price rise. It's not arbitrary. It's not government. It's not a bank. It is pure supply and demand. And that is a good thing because we live in a free market system and supply and demand regulates our markets. So don't be hesitant. If you are looking to make moves this year, get started today. Reach out to me. If you're here on my Facebook channel, you are a Facebook friend. If you're not a Facebook friend, add me. I'll add you, and I'll get you connected to my real estate business page. If you're here on YouTube, the description of this video and of every video I've ever done has my personal information. Give me a call, send me a text, email me. Let's get started toward a happier financial situation. Whether that be home ownership, whether that be selling your home to upgrade or downsize, whatever it is, wherever it is, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, I will help. I will find you the individual that can help you if it isn't me. I will find you the individual who will walk together with you to guide you and not push you. So I hope to hear from you soon. This is David Hittle once again with United Real Estate Louisville. You have watched the David Hittle Real Estate Show for this week. We will be back next week. Same time, same place. And if technology cooperates, we'll be in both places. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're here on YouTube or on Facebook, go check out my YouTube channel and see the other videos that I've done. My most popular are my grand tours of brand new construction homes. Imagine that. So until next Sunday, 2 o'clock, I wish you all a great day and have a great week. And enjoy what we all get to enjoy, this wonderful country of ours. Have a great day.